Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Tuesday. I hope all is well and you're getting yourself ready for tomorrow's big night at the Emirates. Arsenal versus Everton, of course, the big important game in hand that Arsenal have had for so long now. It's finally arrived. Victory tomorrow and Arsenal move 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League. So a big carrot on offer for them tomorrow night. Mikel Arteta has just been speaking at his press conference ahead of that game at the Emirates. Quite a few things for him to discuss. He spoke about the team news, obviously, more primarily about Thomas Partey. Spoke about the sort of Gabriel Saliba. I don't even know what you'd call it. It wasn't a bust up. It wasn't really a spat. I don't know. But we'll get to that anyway. He spoke about that. He also talked about Emile Rowe and Jakub Kiwior, who played for the under-21s last night, Kieran Tierney, a few things like that. So we'll go through what he had to say. I'll give my thoughts on some of his answers as we really start to build up for the big game against Everton, tomorrow night. So team news-wise, he didn't really talk about too much apart from Thomas Partey, and he just said he hasn't trained much, only had a session and he will train today. It's what it is. He was out for a couple of weeks and he needs to get the rhythm. Now Thomas Partey was on the bench against Leicester. He came on, so clearly he's ready, he's fit, or fit enough to be involved, and I expect he will be again on Wednesday night. But as I said in yesterday's video, I don't think he starts this game. I think you rest Thomas Partey for this one. Leave him on the substitutes bench. You continue with Coutinho. Then you bring Thomas Partey back against Bournemouth at the weekend. And then it's... did I say Coutinho? Jorginho. Apologies. Then you play Thomas Partey at the weekend. Then you bring Jorginho back for the Europa League game. And that's when you get into that rotation process with those two, of Partey at the weekend and Jorginho in the Europa League. So I think Jorginho will probably start tomorrow night, but we'll wait and see. Elsewhere, team news-wise, I mean, we kind of know, unless there's anything that Arteta's keeping under wraps and there's an injury we don't know about, it's all pretty good at Arsenal at the moment. Smith Rowe's back. He played for the under-21s last night, got 45 minutes, which is good. Gabriel Jesus is getting there, but not ready yet, of course, so he's not going to be involved tomorrow night. But other than that, it's Arsenal in very good shape, which when you consider the stage of the season we're at, it's very positive. Another big thing, I think probably the big talking point from the press conference was Arteta talking about Gabriel and Saliba. And I've had a few messages about this at the weekend. Obviously I wasn't there at the weekend, as you know, I didn't go to the game, but I've seen the footage afterwards, and I mean, it is literally much ado about nothing. You can see with the pictures that they're kind of smiling as well. Gabriel's clearly annoyed by something. Saliba's winding him up. Saliba's laughing. They have a little sort of jokey push and shove. As soon as it finishes, they turn around and start celebrating. So it's not like they storm off the pitch or in a huff or anything like that. It was just a sort of laughy, jokey argument and a couple of jokey pushes. And the sort of TV footage, the camera footage is from a distance as well, so you can't really tell that. All you can see is the players kind of pushing each other, and it looks like it's something potentially a little bit more serious. But when you see actual photographs of the incident sort of close up, you can see that Saliba's smiling, and it's nothing too serious or anything like that. As soon as the thing is over, they turn around and start celebrating with the Arsenal fans. So it's nothing that's festering away. And anyway, Mikel was asked about the incident, and he said they are a happy marriage. It's a really good quote. They're a happy marriage. They love playing with each other, but they are really demanding of each other, and everything is fine. I think that's the thing from this. It was obviously something had gone on towards the end of the game where I think it was probably looked more like Gabriel was a bit more annoyed at something that Saliba hadn't done, and he was pointing it out after the full-time whistle. Saliba was laughing about it and pushing him away. And then he was asked, Mikel, do you kind of prefer to see that sort of thing at the end of the games, that the players are still, despite the fact they've won, they're still sort of pushing each other and not happy that there was something they could have done better? And he said, yes, I don't want robots. I want players with feeling and with passion that they demand of each other, but at the end they have to have those chemistry, and those two certainly have that chemistry on the field and off it. I love that even when they're winning, they want us to do better. And look, Saliba and Gabriel, there is no issue there. I think they posted a picture in the dressing room afterwards of the two of them celebrating the win. It was just, don't get sucked into the fact it was anything serious or anything like that. Clearly it wasn't. You can tell that by looking at the footage and at the pictures. But I thought Mikel's comments were really good about it. Happy marriage. I mean, the two of them, they're so important. I think they've started every single Premier League game together this season. They've been the bedrock that Arsenal's success has been built upon. Both have had brilliant spells. Saliba was so good the first half of the season. Gabriel's been absolutely exceptional the last few weeks as well. Two of them fantastic young centre-backs, very clearly good mates. and working very, very well to each other. So that's what Mikel had to say about the, I don't know, bust up, whatever it is you want to call it, but it was clearly nothing serious whatsoever. So Everton tomorrow, only a few weeks since Arsenal went up to Goodison Park and lost. That was their second defeat. They've obviously lost against Manchester City since then. Arteta doesn't have the best of records against Sean Dyche, certainly away from home. Hopefully he'll be putting that right tomorrow night. That's what he said. He just said, look, when he was asked about that record, he said, look, we just got to win tomorrow night. And I think Arsenal know what they're going to get from Everton under Dyche. It's no secret the sort of physical challenge they're going to face tomorrow, a team that are going to look to get in and around them at set pieces. That's what won them the game at Goodison Park with Tarkowski's header from the set piece. Arsenal need to learn from that. They need to be wise from that. Try and limit the amount of free kicks they give away. If, as I said yesterday, that Everton are without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think that's going to be a big thing for them just because of the way they play, and he's the outball. He's the sort of, I don't know, the Ivan Toney type forward who caused Arsenal centre-backs problems in that Brentford game recently, and if Calvert-Lewin's not there to be able to take that ball with his back to goal and put the Gabriel and Saliba under pressure in the air, then there's not really that outball there for Everton to clear their lines quickly and deal with some pressure. So I think that would be quite a big thing for Arsenal. We'll wait and see if he is involved or not. Mikel was asked, what can you do? How can you avoid something similar to what we saw at Goodison Park having on Wednesday night? And he said it's a case of just doing things better than we did when we played there a few weeks ago. We have to earn the right to win the game. Hopefully tomorrow we'll play much better than we did that day. And I think that's a big thing. While Everton obviously caused Arsenal a problem at Goodison, the fact was Arsenal just didn't play well. If Arsenal had played well at Goodison, they could have got something from that game because Everton weren't brilliant. They were just inspired by the crowd, the atmosphere that day, the fact it was Dyche's first game. A lot of things worked against Arsenal that day, but they didn't play well, plain and simple. And had they played well, had they kept the ball better, had they moved the ball more quickly, they would have caused Everton problems. And if they do that on Wednesday night, then hopefully they'll find a way to get themselves in front, and then they go on and win that game. And I think that's going to be really, really important. It's going to be intriguing to see what team Mikel plays in the game. Who do you start? I spoke about it yesterday. Do you stick with Trossard? I think you probably do. I'd be very surprised if you bring Eddie Nketiah back for this one, especially after how much Eddie struggled against Everton a few weeks ago with the centre-backs and the way that Everton play. I think if you have Trossard in that false nine position, as we saw against Leicester, that you're hopefully going to be able to drag a couple of centre-backs out of position there because Trossard will drop deep. The centre-backs might come out to follow him, and then Martinelli can do that run in behind like he did for the goal and sort of get into the space that's been vacated by Trossard's movement. And I just feel like that's probably the way Arsenal are going to go. And as I said, probably Jorginho in for Partey, but there's he's got a few options now, which is good for Arteta. The January transfer window has given him that. He's got some solid options on the bench. He's got some good options, like I said, who came in January. You've got Smith Rowe coming back from injury, and that just gives you the opportunity to change things up a little bit if he needs to. And a team that was fairly predictable in terms of who's going to be starting each week, not quite so predictable anymore. And Mikel was asked about that in a press conference. He said, is it harder for you now to actually know what your best starting 11 is, and is that a good thing? And he said, well, we assess the situation every single day. The fact that we have options right now and we have some players coming in from injury to give us alternatives, which is going to be crucial because players that can maintain the same level for 10 months is just impossible. We need to change and we have to generate alternatives and be more unpredictable for our opponent as well. And we have those options now. And, they definitely do. There's no doubt about it. You look at Arsenal's bench at the moment, you look at who there is there to potentially change the game or come in and to start and give players a breather. Arsenal have that option that they didn't have maybe 2 months ago. And the fact that Gabriel Jesus, fingers crossed, will be back very soon is only going to add to that and give even more options for Arteta, which at this stage of the season, given the position Arsenal are in, is absolutely great news, and it's exactly what he would have wanted. So yeah, under 21s last night, Arsenal lost 1-0 to Chelsea, I think it was. Like I said, Smith Rowe and Jakub Kiwior playing in that game, getting 45 minutes, or Smith Rowe got 45 minutes. I'm not sure how much Kiwior got. I didn't actually see what if he came off or not, but it must have been a difficult adjustment period for Kiwior. He's come over here, he's an established international player. He's playing all the time in Italy. Then suddenly you arrive in January, you come to Arsenal and you don't play a single minute, and we're in March now. Or we will be in March tomorrow, and he haven't even played a single minute yet. So it'll be difficult for him. He'll be adjusting to a new club, adapting to a new country, culture and all that, and he's not playing. And I think it's probably easier if you are playing because that's what you are being paid to do. You're a footballer, you want to be playing. If you're not, it's just going to add to the issues. But I'm sure he would have known that when he came to Arsenal. He was coming to a club with a very solid centre-back partnership with other centre-back options as well. And maybe you can use these first 6 months as a kind of adaptation period. But we do have the Europa League coming up now, and that's where potentially these players are going to be involved in getting their minutes. And I think that's definitely why Mikel would have given them a bit of a run out in the under-21s last night, just to dust off those cobwebs a little bit ahead of the return of the Europa League, because it's going to be the squad and squad management during those games when the Europa League kicks in is going to be really, really important. Mikel kind of touched on it here. He said both of them did really good. Obviously, they need some minutes, and at the moment they haven't had much exposure for different situations. It was great to see them on the field because we're going to need them in the next couple of games, and I think that's going to be a crucial thing. Like he said there, Arsenal are going to need them. The squad that really you haven't had to delve into too much. I think we're certainly going to see that now when the Europa League coming back. Rob Holding, Jakub Kiwior, Kieran Tierney, Tomiyasu, Fabio Vieira, although he has been getting a bit of an opportunity in the Premier League recently. Players like that are certainly going to be coming into the equation and going to need to help Arsenal get over the line in these games when the Europa League really kicks in. So those two are going to be really important. I'm sure it's going to be great to see Emile Smith-Rowe back as well. We had a couple of opportunities last night, by all accounts, and I've never hidden my admiration for Smith-Rowe. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's got bags full of talent, and it's going to be a really big boost for Arsenal to have him back and to have him fit for the last 14 games and for the Europa League as well. One player who was asked about, Kieran Tierney, didn't give too much away. Obviously, Tierney's been heavily linked with Newcastle recently. I think we'd all be surprised if Tierney stays at Arsenal for next season, given clearly he's not number one choice here anymore. He's behind Zinchenko in the pecking order. The way that Arteta wants to play is not really Kieran Tierney's style of play. It just feels like this is the summer we're probably going to see Kieran Tierney move. Mikel was kind of asked about that and asked about these players who aren't getting any minutes now. Do you fear potentially them moving on in summer because they're just not happy, not playing? And he said, I don't know. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about what's best for the team and obviously the players who play the right minutes, which they deserve. And we're going to try and do that in the next couple of games. And these players, they will clearly play more now. The Europa League is going to start up again. They're going to get a bit more time to be on the pitch. But I think certainly with some of the players, Kieran Tierney especially, it still feels like this might well be the summer that we see him move on and Arsenal look to get some money in for a player who clearly has fallen a little bit down the pecking order. Fantastic player though, and it'd be great to see him make an impact between now and the end of the season because he's still so popular. And he deserves to be involved in the mix, no doubt about that. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. That is the reaction to Mikel Arteta's press conference. I'll be back tomorrow to speak more about the game, go through my predicted 11, that sort of thing. So keep your eye out for that video. But until then, have a very good day, everyone. Enjoy yourselves. Speak to you soon.